Child labor is running rampant in New York City, and according to one New York City councilwoman, she's been trying to do something about this for over a year and nothing has been done. From CBS News, New York City to set up task force to get migrant children selling snacks on streets and subways into school. It's a heartbreaking and common sight in New York City, children selling snacks on the streets and subways instead of spending their days at school. A concerned lawmaker doesn't want a busy thoroughfare in the southwest part of Queens to become a boulevard of death for migrant children put on the street to sell food and drink. It's 100% the safety of these kids. I've seen these children. They're young. They're 5, they're 6. They're getting bored, so they're making makeshift slides and using a 2x4 to slide directly into Woodhaven Boulevard, the city councilwoman said. She's been trying to fight this for well over a year to get the city to do something about the hordes of migrant children of all ages sent into the subways or on busy street corners to sell candy and food instead of going to school. Their truancy is not being addressed. There's also the question of where they're getting the items to sell. When they're asked, they say that someone comes from far away to give it to us, so they're also being exploited by people who are using them to sell their goods on the street. Mayor Eric Adams has now appointed a multi agency task force to go into shelters and convince parents to send their kids to school. I saw that in Ecuador, I saw that in Mexico, I saw that in Colombia. So sometimes people bring their culture and how practices are done into the city, and we want to make sure that people understand that children should be in school, Adams said. New York City has been so generous to asylum seekers, there's no need for their kids to work, Ariel said. They're receiving debit cards now, they have lodging, they have free call center, she said. They have free medical care, they're also getting free education. There's no need for migrants to become a part of illegal street vending. So, due to Democratic policies in New York City, we now have 5 and 6-year-olds out on the streets by themselves selling food illegally to people instead of going to school. All right, they have no reason whatsoever to work. All right, they are given everything for free. All right, they are put up in hotels on Fifth Avenue for free, and yet they still send their kids out to work. But you hear that they say, oh, someone comes from far away and gives it to us, so they're being exploited most likely by gangs related to the cartels. Mayor Eric Adams said that these people sometimes bring their culture and how practices are done into the city. We don't want their culture. There's a reason they left their country and defrauded our asylum system to get into this country because our values and our culture is so much better, where we don't have 5 and 6-year-olds out on the corner of the street and in subways selling food illegally. The craziest part of all this is Mayor Eric Adams saying he has now appointed a multi agency task force to go into shelters and convince parents to send their kids to school. Not to tell them that you have to send your kids to school, because if you don't, that's a crime. He's trying to convince them. Let's see what would happen if legal, actual citizens of this country did something like that. So, New York State mostly lets local school districts decide how to discipline students who skip school, but parents who don't make their kids go to school could be fined or sent to jail. Under New York State's compulsory education laws, every child between the ages of 6 and 16 must attend school full time. Under New York's compulsory education laws, it is the responsibility of parents to make sure their children go to school. If they don't do that, they could be charged with violating the law unless they can show that they aren't able to control their kids. A first offense comes with a maximum fine of $10 or 10 days in jail, but each violation after that could result in a fine of $50 and or 30 days in jail. So if you or I, legal citizen of the United States, were to not send your kid to school, you would be fined or put in jail. If these people, criminal aliens who defrauded our asylum system, don't send their kids to school, the mayor of New York City just tries to convince them, ask them nicely to send their kids to school. They get taxpayer funded healthcare, taxpayer funded housing, taxpayer funded food, yet they still send their 5 and 6-year-olds out onto the street to work. The police won't do anything about these parents not sending their kids to school, and they won't do anything about their food vending laws either. A food vendor must have a food vendor license or a supervisor license, and the unit must have a permit. Permit holders and licensed vendors must provide and keep their email and mailing address up to date with the New York City Health Department. I don't think any of these 5 and 6-year-olds are doing that. I don't think any 5 or 6-year-old is getting a permit to be able to sell food, but the police will just ignore them. But if you or me, law-abiding citizen, try to do that, you would go to jail. The police would definitely come after you. Let's look at some more New York City laws that if you or I, law-abiding citizen, were to break, you would either be fined or put in jail for, but these criminal aliens can commit these crimes with impunity. So we have unlicensed general vending, including continued unlicensed activity, failure to carry or exhibit license on demand, failure to wear a license conspicuously while vending, failure to notify DCWP of change of info on license application, failure to keep or produce required written record, failure to permit regular inspections, failure to provide name, address of manufacturer, supplier, distributor, or place of storage. That's just a few, but look how many there are that these people are breaking every single day, yet the police won't do a thing about it. So while all that's going on, New York City is on track to spend $12 billion on migrants without federal or state intervention. So Mayor Eric Adams is stepping up his pressure campaign on the federal government, with nearly 100,000 migrants having arrived in the city since last spring. Adams laid out the financial burden of housing and feeding migrants during a press conference Wednesday. The city has already spent more than $1 billion. If things do not change, our new estimates have us spending nearly $5 billion on this crisis in the current fiscal year. That's up from $1.4 billion from the last fiscal year and nearly equals the budgets of the Department of Sanitation, Department of Parks and Recreation, and the FDNY combined, Adams said. Currently, the city is spending an estimate $9.8 million a day on migrants. Over 57,000 asylum seekers are in the city's care. We are past our breaking point, Adams said, referring to the pressure on the city's shelter system has been under the last year. Officials now believe the city will spend $12 billion by the end of the 2025 fiscal year. Adams said city services, including those for migrants, could be affected to offset the cost. I got a better idea than spending $12 billion on criminal aliens who are defrauding our asylum system. Just deport them. Enforce the laws that are already on the books. All right? You don't need to make any new laws. You just need to enforce the ones that are currently on the books. If you don't live in New York or New York City, you should absolutely hate Eric Adams for saying he's stepping up his pressure campaign on the federal government. Because that basically means is, hey, all other taxpayers that don't live in New York or New York City, come bail me out. Democrats overwhelmingly voted for these policies, and these policies got put into place. And this is what it results in. 5 and 6-year-olds out there on the streets selling food and drinks illegally instead of being in school. All right, I guess you can say that Democratic policies lead to illegal child labor. I feel like you definitely need to go out and just tell everyone that you know that there's rampant child labor going on in New York City. And this isn't anything new, as we saw that councilwoman say she's been trying to do something for over a year and nothing has happened. As you know, Joe Biden and his administration have made every state a border state, every county a border county, and this could probably be coming to a city near you if it's not already there. Let me know what you guys think about this. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.